The president is arguing in court that Congress can't investigate him as Republicans wage a war on reproductive rights. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. This week, it really feels like we're seeing one threat after another to our system of constitutional democracy. The president is vowing to block all subpoenas from Congress. His lawyers are arguing in court that Congress doesn't have the power to investigate him. The White House counsel told Congress this week that Trump would refuse all demands for records and testimony related to the Mueller report. And Trump is turning the Justice Department into a political weapon. At this point, the next National Treasure movie is just going to be 2 hours of Nick Cage trying to tape the Constitution back together. I'm still missing a piece! Earlier this week, for example, Trump said he would resist all congressional requests for documents like his tax returns because he thinks Congress shouldn't be allowed to see them.
Why continue to block these House Democrats who are looking for information?
Because they're asking for things that they're not entitled to. I could ask them, I assume, if they ask me, I could ask them for the same kind of thing. They wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, they would. In fact, several Democratic presidential candidates have already released their tax returns because they have nothing to hide. You think Elizabeth Warren has a side hustle selling hotels to Russian mobsters? At most, I could see her running a B&B that serves breakfast way too early. Be downstairs at 4:30 because the cream of wheat goes fast. The Trump administration is even refusing basic requests for information about big banks that have scammed customers. Yesterday, for example, Warren grilled Joseph Otting, the comptroller of the currency, during a Senate hearing. Now, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or OCC, is charged in part with regulating banks like Wells Fargo. Warren asked Otting to release information about the bank, which has had a series of scandals. Otting refused, and let's just say it did not go well for him.
Will you commit to publicly disclosing the OCC's evaluation of the, quote, competence, experience, character, or integrity, end quote, of the next Wells CEO?
I will not.
Why not?
Because it'll be confidential supervisory information.
Well, it's confidential if you make it confidential. Right. The point is you have the legal authority.
I do not have plans to release that information publicly.
And what is the reason that you don't have plans? Why are you keeping this secret?
As you indicated, it's my prerogative.
Okay, and our job is oversight here.
Senator Warren, no one has been more tougher on Wells Fargo than myself. No one has been more outspoken.
You mean at the OCC? That's a low bar.
I would disagree with that. I find that insulting that you would make that comment.
Good.
Whoa. What do you even say in response to that? I'm insulted. Good. I'm glad you're insulted. Well, I'm glad that you're glad that I'm insulted. It's such a simple yet effective burn that all you can do is slink down in your chair and hope she forgets you're there. So the president is arguing that he can't be investigated or subpoenaed and that Congress isn't entitled to information about him. And then there's the fact that Republicans in Alabama passed an inhumane and blatantly unconstitutional anti-abortion law, essentially inviting the Supreme Court's conservative majority to overturn Roe v. Wade. In fact, last night, the governor of Alabama signed the bill into law and actually admitted that it was unenforceable.
The most restrictive abortion law in the nation is now in effect in the state of Alabama. The governor of that state signing the bill yesterday, which bans all abortions unless the mother's life is in danger. Doctors in Alabama who perform an abortion, if convicted, would face up to life in prison.
Planned Parenthood and the ACLU are challenging states who have restricted abortion, saying lawmakers are passing these bills only to benefit their parties.
They know and say publicly that these laws are blatantly unconstitutional, and they don't care.
Tonight, the governor here says while she signed the abortion bill, she also knows it is unenforceable because of Roe v. Wade.
Think about that. They passed a bill they know is unconstitutional, and they don't care. Can you imagine how Republicans would react if New York and California passed laws just banning all gun ownership? The NRA would send out an all-caps email saying tyranny is here. Trump would tweet something like gun grabbing libs not nice with a bunch of weird exclamation points. And Sean Hannity would scream so loud the screen in your TV would crack. Well, probably not your TV, but, your grandpa's TV. And it will not shock you to learn that some of the men voting for these bills have absolutely no idea how pregnancy or reproduction work. Take Republican State Senator Clyde Chambliss, who was asked about the fact that the bill does not provide exemptions in case of rape and incest. Chambliss said that abortions could only be provided until the woman is known to be pregnant. Okay, already, what? Is this some kind of ancient Alabama riddle? The buffet is all you can eat. That is, until you get to the restaurant. Chambliss also said, I'm not trained medically, so I don't know the proper medical terminology and timelines, but from what I've read, what I've been told, there's some period of time before you can know a woman is pregnant. Wait, you're not medically trained? Because you nailed it, dude. Did it really not ever occur to you to look into the terminology and the timelines before voting on this bill? It strikes me the only timelines these guys think they know is you have sex and then 9 months later a stork shows up. In fact, that comment was so dumb, Planned Parenthood actually had to issue a fact check on its Twitter account. When asked if this bill makes an exception for victims of incest, Senator Chambliss said yes until she knows she's pregnant. Again, that would mean that that person would have to get an abortion before they know they're pregnant. That's not a thing. It's not. Who is this guy's sex ed teacher? A polecat and a beer helmet? But of course, this isn't about protecting life. If that's what it was about, then Republicans would invest money in maternity care, parental leave, universal pre-K, or any number of policies that would actually help families raise children. What it's really about is depriving women of their basic human rights. And Chambliss basically gave the game away when he was asked why the bill wouldn't apply to eggs fertilized through IVF. Chambliss said the egg in the lab doesn't apply. It's not in a woman. She's not pregnant. Dude, you just admitted it. It's not in a woman, so we don't care. You said out loud the thing Republicans pretend they aren't doing. You're like one of those guys selling fake watches on the street and admitting it's fake. It's not a Rolex, it's a Polex, and the numbers are out of order. Now, these anti-abortion bills passed by multiple states are blatantly unconstitutional. In fact, the authors know these bills will get overturned in the lower courts. That's the point. They want them to get to the Supreme Court. And they're doing this now because they think they've finally got 5 conservative justices on their side with the appointment of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. You remember him? The bad guy from every 80s teen movie. You know, he looks like he should be telling Michael J. Fox, a werewolf can't play basketball. Of course, during his confirmation process, Kavanaugh repeated all the usual nonsense about how he'd be a fair and impartial judge. And honestly, for the life of me, I just can't figure out what would make Republicans think Kavanaugh's on their side. He's always been pretty, balanced.
Since my nomination in July, there's been a frenzy on the left to come up with something, anything, to block my confirmation. The behavior of several of the Democratic members of this committee at my hearing a few weeks ago was an embarrassment. This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election, revenge on behalf of the Clintons, and millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups. This is a circus.
Holy that guy's a Supreme Court justice now. Can you imagine what his questions during oral arguments are like? I saw Hillary Clinton outside my house last night digging through my trash as part of a left-wing conspiracy to steal my identity and make a mold of my face so she could wear it as a mask and rob a liquor store. This guy accused the Clintons of orchestrating a secret revenge plot with money from left-wing opposition groups to destroy him. And now he could be one of the deciding votes on everything from whether Congress can investigate the president to Roe v. Wade. He sounds like he's auditioning for a talk show with Alex Jones.
They're demons. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders, okay? I'll just say it. Make fun of me all you want on CNN or wherever, but everyone already innately knows this. These people are not frickin' humans, okay? Hillary Clinton is a goddamn demon. Excuse me, taking a word. It's not taking it in vain. She is a demon damned to hell. Excuse me.
I like how he says, excuse me at the end, like he just sneezed. For Alex Jones, an outburst like that is just involuntary. Joe Biden is a secret lizard who smells like sulfur. Gesundheit. Of course, throughout his confirmation process, Kavanaugh repeated all the usual lines about how he would supposedly respect Roe v. Wade as settled law.
Senator, I said that it's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court. It has been reaffirmed many times over the past 45 years, as you know. And most prominently, most importantly, reaffirmed in Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992. I understand the importance of the issue. I understand the importance that people attach to the Roe v. Wade decision, to the Planned Parenthood versus Casey decision. I don't live in a bubble. I understand. I live in the real world.
Man, it's so weird to see someone who's capable of losing his shit like that suddenly calm and measured. It's like seeing a crazy guy in the subway screaming, "Rats controlled by the government are spying on us," and then he turns to you and says, "By the way, that jacket looks fantastic." Second, Kavanaugh was lying about Roe v. Wade, and we all know he was lying because he said the exact opposite in an email when he worked for the Bush administration.
Somebody leaked to the New York Times and then to NBC News this email written by Brett Kavanaugh in 2003, in which he argues explicitly that Roe versus Wade is not recognized to be settled law because the Supreme Court could very well overturn it. Quote, "I am not sure that all legal scholars refer to Roe as the settled law of the land at the Supreme Court level, since court can always overrule its precedent." And 3 current justices on the court would do so.
Man, I'd love to hear Kavanaugh's explanation for that. Hillary Clinton snuck into my office wearing a mask of my face and typed that on my computer to frame me. And Alex Jones is right. She's a demon from hell. Excuse me. Our system of constitutional democracy is facing one threat after another. Congress should be able to investigate the president, and women should be able to make choices about their own bodies. I can't believe I have to say that. And if you're offended by me,
Good.
this has been A Closer Look.